this video, we're going to talk about Neo Tantra, New Age gurus, and survivors, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is from childhood, and then leads the survivors into cult-like communities, cults, and then they become cptsd survivors again because they've been re-traumatized. Or one-on-one seekers, which could be led to someone like myself, like a Neo Tantra priestess or goddess, and they are taken advantage of or manipulated. It could go bad either way. There are bad actors on all sides. New Age gurus, right? Things that are like Bikram yoga is still continued, even though Bikram is a convicted sex offender. So they've taken the beauty out of Bikram yoga and convicted the man, which is a new trend, which is wonderful. Same thing with Osho. Why does Tantra, Neo Tantra, yoga, New Agey, self-improvement, growth mindset, all of these things are seemingly wonderful things, spiritual communities, become cults? The answer, I think, has to do with the people's own. I think that codependency is really your downfall, right? That's the thing that makes your no a yes, and then you're just like yes, 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 and you'll like sprint your ass off of a cliff going yes when you really mean no, hell no, right? That's like extreme codependency. So we're going to talk about what kind of codependent are you, and this codependent goddess journey has specifically to do with my being raised by narcissists. So some people were raised by alcoholics, right? And for me, I didn't understand, because my parents never did any drugs or didn't even drink, that I could be raised as a codependent, conditioned to be a fawner because my parents were narcissists. I never even heard that until 2020. So I ignored a lot of literature and a lot of different characteristics of a codependent because I didn't understand what kind of codependent I was. And before I became aware of my codependency, I had thought that codependent was partner to the alcoholic or the drug addict only, right? I didn't understand that there was a codependency partnership, a long-standing, long-term relationship with the asshole, with the narcissist, with the abuser that is just as old as the Al-Anon codependency is the abusive husband-wife combo. Why doesn't she just leave? Cliche. So if you were raised by a narcissist and you're codependent to the narcissist, you are attracting abusers, you are attracting manipulators, seemingly evil people into your life, assholes. That seems to be like a lot of my pattern, that I just felt like I was cursed, but I finally realized that I was a codependent specifically to the narcissist. But it's important, while you're pointing fingers at the narcissist, to point fingers at yourself as the codependent, because those two are partners in toxicity typically, and that toxicity didn't just appear out of nowhere, which I didn't understand for many, many decades. It is a remnant from your childhood family. I want to talk about how Tantra attracts codependents who need to take care of people, because being a goddess, being a priestess, is obviously being adored, but it's not one way. It is a mutual adoration, but that still does have can be narcissistic supply, because you don't have to work that hard beyond agreement and consent to reap the benefits of a Neo Tantra session. You can go into a puja and get worshipped by 15 people, do fun things, and get supply from that. Because the real work comes in sacred intimacy coaching sessions, which dive deep into people's trauma. So that's what they call doing the work. And pujas and these fun little tantric festivals and things like that, those are just fun little flirty surface ego. So one can easily take this bliss and joy that you feel when you are eye gazing with someone, when you are in love energy for the first time with a god. One can easily become addicted or become enticed by that. So my wounds have to do with the ways that I was neglected as a teen, and my mother basically gave me basic needs in lieu of love. Basic financial needs such as like food, clothing, shelter, but no emotional awareness, no emotional intelligence, no parenting structure, no nurturing during these very formative years of 14 to 20. And so that gave me blurry boundaries. I didn't have boundaries because I didn't know anything, right? And blurry boundaries, but needing love, blurry boundaries and cptsd specifically leads itself to being associated with negative people. Because when you're in cptsd haze and you don't even know that you have this issue, right? You don't even know what boundaries, you don't even know that you lack boundaries until you get hurt. And that was what was happening to me for a very long time. Blurry boundaries creates a pattern for codependency. Basically, my mother gave me a credit card when I was a teenager to buy my basic needs. And if my basic needs were to look good and buy new outfits at Contempo and Express, then I was allowed to do that because my mom wasn't present emotionally. Not really even physically, I just don't remember her being there. And then my dad was in another state, so he was physically and emotionally not present. So that led itself to blurry boundaries, right? So then, and also an underdeveloped brain. Narcissist cult leaders, they prey upon people with blurry boundaries. You don't know what boundaries are. You're okay with everything because you want to be accepted, right? So you start out by, they groom you by seeing if you accept this, right? Seeing if you accept this much. Okay, I'm gonna flake on you and then reschedule the next day. See if you do that. Okay, I'm gonna flake on you and reschedule within a week. I'm not gonna call you. See if you have the strength, the loyalty to deal with that. It's all a test to see what is your breaking point, how loyal, right? Codependent to the narcissist. So they think you're loyal. Codependents are people pleasers. They are, but I kind of ruled that out because I was a people displeaser a lot of the time. I thought of myself as a rebel. So again, I'm ignoring a lot of what codependent personality psychology is about because I'm not really that much of a people pleaser. Everybody has their own weaknesses, their own programming, and your programming, if you are unconscious of it, will get you in the end no matter what. You cannot run from your programming. You have to face it, which is what I've been doing for the last 2 years. I think really what's changed about me, my approach to my Neo Tantra practice, my sacred, sensual, somatic healing, is that it needs to be trauma informed, because I think that we can only go so far, and then it does become a spiritual bypass. We have to we have to want to get better, and we have to be real with ourselves when there are issues that we're actually trying to ignore or minimize. There was a lot of pain that I was trying to ignore and minimize that I had just uncovered in the last 2 years. Tantra will attract those who need caretaking. But as I said, if you are in an actual sacred intimacy life coaching module, it isn't caretaking. It's actually serving. So the thing is, as a practitioner, you are a practitioner and you're not a healer. So it's not all about you as the goddess or the priestess. I'm not actually doing the healing. Oh, right? So it's not actually what people think it is, where, oh, you're the goddess, you must think that you're so amazing, right? But actually, it's a mutual divine intimacy. And it's a mutual recognition of the divine within. And then when people hear that, then they're like, oh, you lost me. That's the difference between how Neo Tantra's goddess priestess adoration is different from the standard BDSM, oh, goddess feminine worship model, where the masculine is emasculated and degraded. I don't need to degrade. It is a reflection. It's a mirror image of who I am, both my masculine and my feminine. And so once you bring the love in and the light, then that's diminishing the narcissism, and breaking that mirror that killed Narcissist, essentially. So I think that didn't allow me from the get-go to be codependent. My very first teacher, Triambaka, Maviv, so she was the first person who taught me how to be a sensual, sacred, intimate. And she said, you're not healers, you're facilitating healing. She also said, pay attention to what it is the client wants. Make your sessions client-centered. It's not what you think the client wants. Pay attention to what the client wants, what's best for the client. Always think about what's in the best interest of the client that I'm serving. And so that model was downloaded to me from my very first mentors. So it allowed me to heal my codependency, which I had acquired a ton of in my escort prostitution years. And it was healing a lot of the trauma that I acquired and collected from my escort prostitution years through the sacred intimacy practice that would become my main income, my main identity for the next 8 or 9 years present. The first change of awareness was understanding that I could reflect the divine. So understanding that through Tantra I could reflect the divine, of course, is something that I'm going to want to attach to, right? That has changed my life significantly from fear and violence to actually love. So that is a wonderful thing. In the last 2 years, being more cptsd trauma informed it's going to change my practice. And it has significantly. I am a neglected and abandoned child in a lot of ways in my brain. And so understanding the psychology of that you can simultaneously be a spiritual person, an imperfect goddess, a priestess, all of those things in your human self. And so getting my human self to catch up with my goddess self has been the mission.